days, overwhelmed, trapped in a maze. Small business owner, stress had me in a daze. Every problem piled up, couldn't catch a break. Thought I couldn't make it, my dreams were at stake. But then I found a group that changed my whole perspective. Our success group of a community so effective. We all chasing that dream, sharing struggles and fears. They understood my journey, wiped away my tears. Together we broke through, we rise above. No more feeling stuck, we're fueled by love. Our small business is shining, reaching new heights. With the support of our success group, we're taking flight, and our word is strong. The vision so clear, building our dreams with no more fear. Together we're resilient, unstoppable force. With our success group. Changed my whole perspective. Our success group, community so effective. We all chasing that dream, sharing struggles and fears. They understood my journey, wiped away my tears. Together we broke through, we rise above. No more feeling stuck, we're fueled by love. Our small business is shining, reaching new heights. With the support of our success group, we're taking flight, the power is strong. The vision so clear, building our dreams with no more fear. Together we're resilient, unstoppable force. With our success group.
All right, hello, welcome in everybody. We're letting the OSG theme song kind of run its course here. I am pumped up. I am super excited. I appreciate you guys spending some time. Let's turn that off real quick. And you don't want music playing in the background this whole time. Well, hello, welcome into our Success Groups training, the OSG Marketing Roadmap. And today we're going to talk about creating clarity. I've been known to stretch things out. So I imagine when some of you said, oh, 45 minutes, Aaron, really? Right. So we're going to see, we're going to go fast, and we're going to have a blast here today. But the real goal is to make sure that you guys have the details that you need. So first and foremost, if you haven't gotten it already, you can go right there. I put it in both places. You should be able to click right on that link, and that will get you the template, the workbook and template that you can use. And that workbook and template is going to be a fantastic tool. So the goal here is to make sure that I give you all the information so you can create this roadmap for your marketing, and then give you the tools in the form of a workbook and template here that will allow you to do that. And I'm going to put that all into these 2 45-minute sessions, one today, 45 minutes, hour, right? So if you can give me that extra time, we'll have plenty of time for Q&A after this. And we're going to talk today about creating clarity. Now, here's your job. Here's your side of this whole program here, is that you've got to take this information and you've got to put it into action. You've got to actually create that roadmap. And, with the tools, you should be able to do that. But that's not how we do it here at our Success Group. So we'll talk at the end about some ways that there's some additional support available to you. But that's not what we're here for. What we're here for is to make sure you guys get what you need. Now, if you've grabbed that workbook, you can actually go ahead and just start filling in that first section. You don't have to fill it in on the actual workbook. Maybe you got a scrap piece of paper. Maybe you've got a Google Doc open or something like that. But just start asking or answering some of those questions for yourself. No one's going to see it. This is a completely honest self-assessment for you. And that's just always a good way to start. Kind of be honest with ourselves about where we're at, and then go from there. So that's what I want to make sure everybody's got that. We've given everybody ample time to jump in, even if you're a late comer. Still jump in, say hello. I will be kind of glancing at the comments, but I want to get through this quickly. So if I don't respond to you right away, that doesn't mean I'm ignoring you or I'm not going to answer. We will go back at the end and make sure that that is done. So appreciate everybody being here. Let's get the slides up and let's dive right into this. I got one message, and if anybody's in the messenger group, could somebody just let Alan know that yes, it will be available to watch on the replay? So, there we go. All right, so here we go. We're diving in here, and first. Okay, come on, clicker. Does it work? Did I turn on? Absolutely. Okay. You guys know me. I love a good quote. I love this guy, by the way. This is one of my favorite authors. I love he's got an uncommon mindset, right? And that's what we're all about here at our success group is cultivating an uncommon mindset. And so the idea here that Mr. Sinek is sharing, and it's not necessarily directly from his book, but this is a quote I found from him where he said this: people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it, right? And then he goes and he followed that up with saying, and what you do simply proves what you believe, right? You're simply proving what you believe. So I want you to just hold on to that as we go through this, because this is so crucial to getting our message in alignment with who we are as a business so that we are attracting the right customers to us. And this whole idea of a brand kind of gets lumped in with marketing, right? And yes, a brand is important and marketing is important as well, but we need to kind of separate those two things. So with that being said, let's talk about first what a brand is. And as I mentioned, branding is not necessarily marketing, but it will speak to what your marketing is all about. Here's the other thing that a brand is not, before we get into what a brand is. Your brand is not the colors of your website, your logo, the fonts that you use. That's not your brand, right? Those things are indicators and could be a sign for somebody to go, oh yeah, look, Aaron's brand is kind of this superhero-y look and inspirational. Okay, yeah, I get that. But the fact that I've got blue and this font or whatever, yeah, some of you designers out there might just hate this font. I don't know, right? But it's an indicator of your brand. It's a representation of the brand. But what a brand really is, at its core, is your brand is your company's personality, right? As a company, yes, you have a personality. Your company has a personality, right? Is it more fun? Is it more exciting, right? Are you somebody that's going to, use a pom-pom and celebrate, right? In fact, you know what? Let's stop right there for a second. You guys that are in here right now, type in the comments, what's something that you're celebrating today? What's the success that you've had so far today, so far this week? Whatever it is for you, type that in there, right? Let's celebrate that, right? Because that's the part of the personality of what our success group is to inspire people, to encourage them and to lift them up and to find solutions, right? So what is that for your company? What is your personality? There we go. Karen, let's celebrate that, right? Boom, 2 new customers. Sorry to be yelling in your ear if I got real loud there, but boom, 2 new customers. I love it. What else we got here? Jerry says, doing 3 quotes for large companies. Boom. Yes. Woohoo. Good job. Julie says, I was told by a customer that she loved my packaging of products. Yes. All right. There we go. Keep it coming. All right. Perfect. So there you go. You guys get an idea. See, these are the things that speak to your personality. What's important to you? Michelle says, completing pricing for a customer on a few orders yesterday, and a few orders got delivered yesterday. Boom. Right. So I want you guys to turn this back inside, though. And I want you guys to think about how your personality shows through in what you do and how you act, right? Like sometimes I get a little too buttoned up, right? And that's not my personality. So I have to remember that in my messaging. I got to be more playful. Humor is a big part of who I am. I know some of you guys groan at all my dad jokes, but you know what? That's who I am. So I'm not for everyone, right? And so understanding that about your company. The next thing that's important for us is your brand is also your mission and your values. What's important to you, right? And so understanding that really why you started your business is what this is all about. And from there, it also encompasses your strengths, right? What you're good at. So your brand is also part of what your strength. As a business, your job, your responsibility almost is to share your gifts with the world. And you're doing that through your business, right? So your strengths are a big part of this, but just like your values a little bit, sometimes they're hard to pinpoint because they're just who you are. So how do you put language to that? And how do you translate that into your marketing message? Now, here is the most crucial part of all of this. Your brand, you can talk all day long about what you think your brand is, right? Oh, I've got this great mission statement, and I've got it, you know, cut out vinyl on my wall, and I recite our mission every morning. And, but let's say your brand is, do good work, deliver on time, right? You're going to deliver on time. But man, I got busy. I just couldn't do it. And I just hope, I'm hoping that they'll just not notice that I was late. And I'm not going to say anything. That's too uncomfortable. And what's going to happen is your brand is going to start to change without you even knowing it. Your customers are going to go, oh, well, they talk a lot about how they deliver on time, but when they were late, there was no conversation. They didn't call to try to make it right. Like, I think what they're most interested in is just getting their hands on my wallet. So I'm going to go ahead and take my wallet to somebody else. Right. And so you have to make sure that you're not disconnecting your brand from what your customers think. So this is really crucial as well. And going through that, right? So if you guys are following along in the workbook here, you can look after that first page of self-assessment. Now, let's get into how do we define this brand? And this, to me, is crucial. It's what we call it, our success group, we call it our reason. And it's also your values, right? Some people might call it a mission statement, a why statement, whatever you want to call it. But here's what I've discovered about a reason. Your reason, your mission, your vision, your values, whatever that right thing is for you, is going to be at the intersection of these three things. Starts with our strengths. Now, I kind of briefly mentioned this, but let me give you a little more detail on that. Strengths are very difficult for us to find because that's not how we're wired. Humans are wired to look for the danger to keep us safe, right? There's not a extra wire that makes us go look for our superpowers, right? Oh, no, that's egotistical. I can't do that. Well, that's not true. It's actually a bad thing to keep your superpowers from other people because that's what you were put on this earth to do, right? So we need to figure out how to find out what our strengths are. There's some things like going and asking your friends, what do people come to you and ask you questions about? In the workbook, there's a full Finding Your Why guide that you can download there just by clicking that link, osg.link/why. And then you can also go to this thing called the VIA Character Strengths Test. And it takes about 10 minutes and just go through that. And it'll give you some things based on the answers to your questions that it feels like are character strengths of yours. So that's the first part, understanding the strengths. The next part, and I call these SVPs, strengths, values, and passions. The next part is what do you value, right? And we're going to get into that in a little more detail in just 1 second. So hold on that one. And then the last part of this is your passions. Now, you're going to find that these things might seem similar, right? Your passions and your strengths might be the same. Your values and your strengths might be the same, or your passions and your values, or maybe all three of them, you kind of have some similarities. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for a pattern in these things. So passions would be things that, you lose all track of time doing. When in doubt, what's your default? Right. And I'm not talking about the time wasters. Okay, go and scrolling social media. Now, there could be a passion inside of that, right? Maybe your passion is to connect with others. And so you go to social media as a way to say, oh man, what's so-and-so doing? Okay, I want to be more humanly connected with them. And that's what we think we're getting, but that's social media is a whole different deal. We'll get to that a little bit later. And now, here's the other part, though. These things don't necessarily have to be related. Sometimes you might see things that don't look at all related on the surface. In fact, our passions, we don't need to go, oh, well, that passion is not going to make me any money. Because here's the reality of it. If you're that passionate about it, it will provide value to you. Think about Oprah Winfrey. Her passion was having conversations with friends. I think she's done just fine for herself by making that her thing, right? She just went out and figured out, okay, how can I, right? And she had to do some things along the way, becoming, taking on different roles. Okay, TV was a way to go for her, et cetera, et cetera. But ultimately, she makes a living, a very good living, on following one of her passions, right? So your intersection is going to be at the reasons of this. But I think for what we're talking about with marketing here, the most important part for us to cover is going to be talking about our values, because I think once we understand our values, we will much more easily be able to create a marketing message that is right for us and connects with the right people. So let's take a look at values. Now, you see this picture here, right? What does that bring up in you? Do you think, does this look happy and safe, or does this look like danger? Right? Especially like the little kind of thumb looking thing next to the person, right? Yeah. So that's danger, right? That's what our brains are wired to do. Unsettling. Thank you, Jerry. Appreciate that. Perfect. Now, that's what our brains are wired to do. But now this was just an AI image that I created. So we get to make assumptions and just do whatever we want here, but it's to prove a point, right? That little circle right there, maybe that's the friendliest, cutest dog you've ever seen. It just happens to be out of focus, right? But that's not what we're looking for. So what I found, if I want to discover my values and really kind of get into the depth of it, is first thing I can do is look at the things that are my pet peeves, the dangers, the problems. We're really good at finding problems. And so what I've discovered is that when you look at your pet peeves and you understand what those are, then you can also understand that the opposite of those things are your values, right? So it's not a pet peeve because that person's bad or whatever. It's a pet peeve because it grates up against what is valuable to you. So let's look at this. Let me give you just a couple examples, right? Maybe a pet peeve of yours is when people miss deadlines and they don't, kind of follow through necessarily, right? Well, then a value of yours could be dependability. And notice that I'm saying could be. The right answer is the right answer for you. Okay. Maybe you're not a big fan of disorganization. Maybe you're a Virgo like me and you walk into a space that's a little cluttered and you feel a little bit overwhelmed and you're like, ugh, right? That's what I get that, right? Well, maybe what you value is structure and efficiency, right? Structure, efficiency is actually one of my strengths as well. So see how these things start tying together? All right. Customer apathy, meaning we just don't care about the customers, right? Do you ever had that experience when you've done business with somebody where you just feel like a transaction and they could care less, right? I could list off a number of people. Hyundai has made me feel like a transaction. Hewlett Packard has made me feel like a transaction. Pretty much any big company out there. Maybe it could be the reason why I love small businesses so much, because it's not a transaction, right? So maybe your value is caring, empathy, really getting to know your customers deeply, right? So, okay, let me give you another example. Unclear expectations, right? Your customers show up and they give you the stuff and you go, okay, cool, I got it. You deliver and they go, that wasn't what I wanted. Well, the expectations weren't clear. Doesn't mean that you were bad. It doesn't mean that customer was bad. It just means that you value clarity and direction potentially. So again, finding what's right for you. So this is the first part. Now, I just want to make sure you guys are clear here. The idea here is I want to give you the information. You've got the workbook. You can fill this out. You can be filling it out now, or you can make some time to do it later. But I promised I was going to do my best to give you all of this information in 45 minutes. So we're going to keep rolling here. But if you are following along in your workbook, right, you can start putting that information on that second page there. Or it's actually page 3, excuse me. And you got strengths, passions, pet peeves. Now, one quick note here for you as you're doing this. In the pet peeve section, and you're going to go, really, Aaron, does this really matter? It really matters, because our brains are we think we have control of them, but we need to do these things as woo-woo as you think they are. Try it and tell me that I'm wrong. Okay. So write your pet peeve in there. And then when you write your values in there, make sure you cross out the pet peeve. I want you to note that is, we're getting rid of that. It's not important. We're looking for the solution. What's the value in there? Okay. So just make sure that you cross out the pet peeves, please. I gave you a little space where if you want to try to write your reason statement, your mission statement, your why statement, you can totally do that. The idea here is I'm trying to give you a word map of what's important to you, right? And that's going to come from your SVPs. All right. So that's the first thing that you want to do to get some clarity and be able to create a marketing message that's going to work for you. The second thing that we want to do is what is called a SWOT analysis, right? And SWOT is just an acronym. Marketing people, heck, I love a good acronym. SVPs, OSG is actually an acronym that stands for not only our success group, but it also stands for outcome, structure, and growth. Anyhow, so I will throw acronyms at you, and this is one of my favorites. This is a fantastic tool that you can use inside of your business, whether it's for marketing, whether it's for making decisions about things you need to change. What you can focus this SWOT analysis on just about anything inside of your business that you're trying to make a decision on. And this gives you a ton of great information from lots of different perspectives. So let's look at what a SWOT analysis is. So first, the first part of SWOT is S for strengths. And when you start writing down the strengths of what your company's strengths are, right? Maybe it's fast service. Maybe you've got value pricing. Maybe you have a very deep knowledge of the niche or the area that you serve. Your reliability. Sometimes maybe it's that you've got low overhead. Any value-added features that you bring, right? The relationships that you build. Those strengths. Now, these strengths could also come from your own personal strengths too. Again, your business is an avenue to share your superpowers with the world. And therefore, I think a lot of times these things are related and we're trying to silo them. My suggestion for you is to stop siloing it and just embrace it. Your business is your personality and run with it. Okay. All right. Now, I did forget to ask, do we have anybody here that is not a business owner? If you're not, just put me in the comments. And if you have questions, we can relate this back, but I'm 99.9% sure that we're all business owners here. So that does make a difference in what I just said there. All right. W stands for weaknesses, right? So maybe you're newer to the area. Maybe, things have changed and you have to adapt. And so you're learning to adapt. Maybe you do have some high overhead. And so you've got to kind of find a way. Maybe this is not your full-time opportunity. So your turnaround time might be a little bit slower. Maybe you're somebody, right? Whatever you could think of as a weakness. Now, my guess is this list is going to be like super easy to write. Now, I want to make sure that you guys understand this is not a list to go, oh my gosh, how am I ever going to succeed? This is a list only to understand what our blind spots are, right? Like if our weakness is that maybe I can't turn stuff around as quickly because I've got a day job, 4 days a week. And I can only do production 1 day a week, right? So I've got a 7 to 10 day lead time or something like that, right? Or, it just takes you a little bit longer to get back to people, whatever that is. It's not to say, oh my gosh, I'm never going to be successful unless I can turn stuff around in 2 days or I can get back to everybody in 5 seconds. It's to say, design your business in that way, right? Why is that important to them? Yeah, because you're going to take the time to get it right. You're going to make sure that you actually can get back to people in a deep way and not just be like checking boxes, right? So we can understand weaknesses as a potential blind spot, but I also think we can look at weaknesses as an opportunity to go, oh, could this actually be a strength? And you'll see that in the workbook there. Okay. The next section is O for opportunities. And think about it, right? Like this is where you get to just dream and go, what are the opportunities that are in front of you, right? We're talking about the roadmap for the next 8 weeks. What are the opportunities that are out there in front of you right now? What's going well, right? We celebrated some things. Julie, I was told by a customer that she loved my packaging of my product. Opportunity, talk more about my packaging. Show that off. Be proud of it, right? Michelle, completing price for a customer and a few orders yesterday got delivered. Cool. I'm getting orders out the door. Let's celebrate that. Those are opportunities. Okay. Where are other opportunities to, new customers to build pricing for, right? And those are just a couple quick ones. I know more of you guys shared, but hopefully that makes sense, right? So what are the opportunities that are available to you out there? I would say, especially focusing on through the end of the year, but you know what? go bigger too. There's no wrong answer to this. It's just an opportunity to see things from all different angles. So that way, when it's time to start creating our marketing message, we've got a really good clarity of what it is that our business is all about. Then T stands for threats, right? And I put a little note on there. You might see it on screen. Avoid focusing too much on the competitors, right? If you're focusing all of your energy and thought and everything on, oh my gosh, what's the person up the street doing? What's what's Facebook doing? Whatever that competitor is, then you're not focusing enough on your business. This is really just an opportunity to go, okay, what are the things that I want to steer away from? What are some things that I just need to be aware of, right? Again, this is not an opportunity to go, oh my gosh, the sky is falling. This is just an opportunity. What do I need to have in my periphery so I'm not blindsided by something, right? Maybe there is somebody new coming into town. Okay, well, that's fine. I don't need to be worried about it, but I need to be aware of it, right? I love it. Love it. Thank you, Michelle. I would love to know. Okay, cool. I told you I was not going to get caught by the shiny objects, but you guys know me. It's going to happen. All right. So that's a SWOT analysis, right? And you can look at that in on page 4 there of the workbook and be filling that stuff out. All right. So now we've got hopefully a little bit more clarity. In fact, you know what? I'm going to go cancel on that word, hopefully. Now we have more clarity. No, hopefully. You've got more clarity if you've taken the time to just think about these stuff, right? There's no wrong answers, but if you just are staring at a blank page and you don't write anything in there, and again, not right now, but at some point, you can do it right now too. That's all good. All right. Sorry. Okay. So let's keep going here. Now we want to start changing our focus here. And now we want to start looking outside a little bit, but I don't want to go too far outside. What I want to look at is our ideal customers. And the idea here is we need to get very specific about this. Ideal is a huge, like underline it, highlight it, do a dance, ideal customers. And here's, and Jerry, I see your comment there, right? That this is hard. It absolutely is hard because we have to have an uncommon mindset is in this. We think that we need to be all things to everyone, right? I need to just catch everybody I can catch. I'm throwing a big net out there. But the uncommon mindset is there is one person that you would just love doing business with. So here's what I want you to do. And Jerry says he does now. I appreciate that. So I appreciate you helping me with this story then. So here's what I want people to do that are struggling with this. I want you to think about this. Maybe you have that person that you can't wait until they call you up. Okay, let's do a new program together. Karen, I know you got a new advertiser coming in that you've really love doing business with. We've got a customer that we're, oh man, I love working with that school. I love working with that fundraiser because it's so near and dear to my heart. Whatever that is, think about that person. But I don't want you to think about all of those people. I want you to think about one person. And we're going to get into this a little bit deeper in a second. But I want you to think about that one person and then realize that the next thing that we normally think in that spot is, man, if there was just 100 more people like that, if there was just 1,000 more people like that, then business would be A-okay, right? And Maria, that was kind of a tongue in cheek for you. I don't know if I did that justice or not, but there's my humor showing up. It's a good thing, right? And it'd be a good thing if we have more people like that. But here's what is the reality. This is the uncommon mindset. The fact that you're trying to be all things to everybody means you're not attracting those 100 other people just like that, those 1,000 other people just like that. Those people are out there. They just don't understand your message enough to go, yes, I want to do business with them. They're going, that sounds interesting. I don't understand. Next, right? So we need to understand what an ideal customer is. And your gut, your instinct, your whatever that is for you, trust it and trust it dearly because it is the most important thing that you've got with when you try to get clarity here. There's no answer key. You're not being graded on any of this. And honestly, the only way that you can kind of maybe not get there quick enough is to try to continue to be too broad and too general. So what is an ideal customer? Well, first and foremost, it's somebody that we love doing business with, right? At the end of the day, if you really don't enjoy working with your customers, you're going to self-sabotage until you close your business down, because if you don't love what you do every day, why are you doing it? Right? That's kind of the big question for me. Okay. Secondly, they're going to connect with your missions and values, right? I'm not going to sit here and try to claim that they have the exact same values, but they're going to align with it, right? They're not going to do things that grade up against you and vice versa, right? So they're going to have some connection to your mission or values. Here's the other, this is not a dirty word, by the way. I did not just put a curse word up on the screen. I know some of you guys think that at times, but I've heard this saying that money is the root of all evil. Well, the reality is money is the root of all philanthropy. That's a hard word for me to say. And therefore, we need to have profit. Profit is the lifeblood of your business. And so if your customers don't want you to be profitable, then they don't align with you. And we say next. So there's somebody that's going to ultimately be profitable. I'm not saying they're going to be profitable right away, but if you have those first two things, they will end up being profitable because you guys will figure out a way to support each other. And then here's the last bit: quality over quantity. If you focus on the quality of the customer, right, and how can I do more business with them? How can I amplify that? You don't need thousands and thousands of customers to be successful, right? In fact, I'm not sure I'd want to do business with that many people. That's just transactions, right? That's just a commodity. Coca-Cola is going to sell a Coke. They don't care about me. I think where we're at this level, yes, you might grow and get away from that, but I think really ultimately an ideal customer is still going to, come back to the reason. Some of these big companies lose their way because they lose track of who their ideal customers are and what's important to them. Their ideal customers have now become their shareholders, the board of directors, as opposed to their customers. Fortunately for them, they're so big that it's going to take them forever to go out of business, but they're on their way to being out of business when they lose track of that. Love it, love it, love it. You guys, thank you, Julie and Karen. Thank you. Okay, so let's get into this a little bit more. First and foremost, we need to start defining just who our ideal customer is from an avatar detail, right? So this is the common stuff that you're going to see in any demographic, kind of like, who is your customer avatar, right? The avatar is a fun word that people like. So age, life stage, right? Are they married? Do they have kids? Are they retired? Right. So just kind of getting some of those details together, kind of pinpoint who they are. Gender identity, what groups are they a part of? There could be a diverse range of people that you work with, right? This is a hard one for folks. They go, well, I do business with both men and women. Okay. But I want you to think about one person. It doesn't mean that just because you say that your avatar is female customers, that you're never going to do business with a man, right? Like, honestly, our success group's avatar are female customers, but we have men that are signed up here. We have men that we work with. It's just the message needs to be clear. And so that helps me understand who I'm talking to, right? Because I'm going to talk differently to different genders potentially, right? All right. Now, here's the thing to me that said, yeah, this is important, is the book Men Are From Mars, Women Are From Venus. Two different communication styles. So we have to understand that. Where are they located? This could be specific physical locations. Maybe it's local people, but it also could be culturally, where are they located, right? What influences are on them from a location way? Where do they hang out online? Those types of things. So having that information. Occupation and income, pretty straightforward there. It just helps us kind of understand how we price our services accordingly, and some of that stuff, right? And where that lands. Maybe education can help us navigate some of this stuff. So having some of that. Now, if you go to the workbook on page 5, it's got a whole bunch of stuff up there that you can kind of circle. You can kind of get new stuff. You can go deeper than that, but I think that's a really good place to be. Now, this is the most important part, though. This is the area. Persona details is really what we need to know. When we have the avatar, that's a great first start. But to get your marketing message with more clarity, we really need to understand this. So What are their values and beliefs? What principles guide them, right? And again, we know that they're connecting with ours, so it might not be as difficult to find, but what's important to them? Who do they want to support, right? When you understand those core beliefs, your message can align so much better, quicker, right? So thinking about those things. The other thing is, what are their social connections, right? What are their interests and hobbies? What activities do your ideal customers enjoy? And again, you might find that their interests are similar to yours, but they don't have to be exactly the same. But I know there's going to be some alignment there. And when you start identifying these interests and these social connections, then you can tailor your why is that word so hard to say? Then you can tailor your content or your promotion to specifically those interests, right? Because I could talk about sports, but if I'm talking about sports to a football player, it's a way different conversation than talking about sports to a baseball player, a basketball player, or a volleyball player. Right? And so just to say the connection is sports teams, okay, let's get more detailed. All right. What are their goals and aspirations? Right? What do they aspire to be? Again, some of you might go, that's like a little woo-woo, that's a little out there. But the reality is they aspire to something, and your product or service is going to help get them there in some way, shape, or form, right? It may not get them all the way there, but it is a piece, because as humans, we are drawn by two things, right? And if you can boil it down to your message to two things, we want to go away from pain, we want to avoid danger, and we want to get out of pain. But then we also want to go towards pleasure. We want to get to something that we desire. We want to go from where we're at right now to somewhere else. And I get it. We might think, oh, well, what do our products do for that? Your products do tons for that. And that's what's most important. That's what's actually making them make the buying decision. That's what's making them connect with you. So we have to understand that. And then most importantly, and I put this in red big letters, is what are their challenges? Now, I know for some people, when you hear the word challenges, I know we got a lot of great positive people in here, and you go, dude, challenges, I don't like that. Okay. Replace the word challenges with need that they need filled, right? A need that you can fill for them. Now, we are trying to solve problems in their lives, right? What problems do you solve? So I'm curious for you guys that are tuned in here, start putting some examples in there. What are the challenges that you help, right? They're looking for time-saving solutions, right? I want to raise money for my organization, but I don't have time to track down all the checks and stuff like that. Can you just make a web store for me? Or, I want to connect more closely, Karen, I know with you, I want to connect more closely with the horse community, but I don't have time to go and try to figure out Facebook ads. I want somebody that's got a community already, right? They want to reduce stress. Oh my gosh, it's so stressful to try to round up all the checks, right? Going back to the whole idea of a like a web store for somebody. You can go anywhere with this, but I'm just giving you some quick examples here. Now, this is also a key point that I want to make for you guys. As you're going through these persona details, you're going to see a lot of things, but we think it's external, right? They need this product or service. They need something outside of themselves. But ultimately, if you can't solve their internal challenge, it doesn't matter how great your external challenge solver is, right? And here's what the reason that this can kind of be a little bit tricky is the external challenges are tangible. Often they're visible, right? It's a problem that somebody faces. An internal challenge is related to the emotions and beliefs and personal struggles that they don't wear on their sleeves, right? And so they're often a lot deeper, sometimes really unspoken, but they are what guides a person's actions and decision making. So the internal challenges are your customers' fears or frustrations. So maybe I'm going to go back to kind of the decorating world, because I know we got a lot of decorators in here. I know not everybody is, but we'll just use this example. If this doesn't land for you, reach out to me and I'll talk through this for you. But maybe your external problem is that you're working with a youth coach and they need uniforms for their team. right? So the external problem is they need uniforms. But the internal problem for that coach is not having enough time to sort out the details. They're frustrated that they don't understand how to get the sizing right, and they always have to get redos. And and their job is to coach the team, not to buy shirts, buy uniforms. And so maybe they're also working a day job, and they're a busy mom or busy dad, right? But if your marketing message talks about the uniforms, they're going to go, awesome. They're not solving my problem though, right? Now, if you flipped it and you looked at their internal problems, your marketing message might talk about the easy try-on process, how you work directly with the parents so the coach doesn't have to. You're taking the coach off the hook. You're allowing them to focus on being the best coach they can be. And not once did you say anything about a uniform, right? You talked about solving that internal problems. As the coach, and I know I've been a coach of a youth sports team, I would go, yes, please. You're the expert in the uniforms. Take care of that, right? Solve my internal problem, please. So let's look at some questions that we can ask to better understand our customers' internal problems. There you go. Thank you, Julia, and thank you, Karen. Good stuff. We can talk about that a little bit more as we get to the end here. I'm trying to get us through to the end here. So let's keep going. Okay. So what keeps your customers awake at night? Why is my clicker not working all of a sudden? Okay. How does your customer want to be perceived by others? A lot of times we're so worried about what others think of us. And so, is there self-image? Is there an aspiration there? What are your customers' dreams for their future or their family's future, right? And again, I know we're looking at big stuff, but the reality is that's how we make our decisions. Think about even the smaller decisions that you've made, right? Should I buy this product or that product at the grocery store? Inflation's up a little bit right now. Things are a little tight. My internal struggle is that I want to make sure that I am thinking about my family's future. So I'm going to go with the quote unquote cheaper product this time. Right. So what is their long held beliefs there that might be showing up? What makes your customers feel nervous or embarrassed? What makes your customers feel incompetent, especially as it relates to their products? If you're selling them something and you're talking all this jargon and things that they don't understand because you're so close to it. Oh, well, we got this process and that process, and oh my gosh, this is so cool. And they're going, oh, yeah, I don't know anything about that. And now you just made me feel like I'm not so bright. And so therefore I'm going to thanks, but no thanks. Okay. So look at that. Go deep into those questions there in the persona. It even goes on into page 6, all the way through the end of page 6. The next section here is I want to get into this niche marketing thing a little bit deeper. I already told you that ideal customer story about if I had 100 more of that person, right? And I know some of you guys might be newer and you jump in with a lot of energy and you want to talk to anyone that'll listen. But the reality is you spend 80% of your time with 20% of your customers. Now, the flip side of that is 20% of your customers is going to make up 80% of your revenue. But yet we're spending 80% of our time with only, right? With only 20% of our customers that are at the bottom. So you've got your top 20% that are making you money. You've got your bottom 20% that are causing you all the pain and suffering and time. And yet we keep focusing on that bottom part, right? Because we want everybody we can get our hands on. If you start focusing on that top 20%, then you're going to start creating more people in that bucket. And that bottom 20% is just going to go away because you don't have time for them anymore, right? So when you start focusing like that, it allows you to enjoy stuff. You're more profitable. You're more efficient. You know the ins and outs of making them happy. And the bonus is that top 20% also loves doing business with you. And then they're going to help you attract more people like them. They're going to do testimonials. They're going to tell their friends about you. So how do we identify them? I think you need to look at this as a little bit like a slot machine. That's why you've got that picture of a slot machine there. And so I've got 5 areas that you might be able to differentiate your niche market from. And don't look at like, oh, okay, I've just got to pick something in one category. This is going to be probably is going to be a combination of some of these things to pinpoint down to your specific niche market. And so just think of these differentiators as your winning slot machine lineup, right? So number 1 is going to be customers. What specific customer type? Again, avoid broad groups, not sports teams. Juniors, youth volleyball would be for me, right? So what's that for you? And again, doesn't have to be just this, but start nailing down this niche to a very specific area. Next is going to be techniques. What are you really good at and enjoy doing, right? Maybe you're somebody who's super efficient with production, but the marketing part is really actually not something that you're all that good at or care about, right? Like, we're going to do this and I'm going to have this roadmap, but I would really rather just make, because I'm really good at that. Okay. Well, maybe you need to redesign your niche and who you're targeting to be more towards wholesale work or contract work, where they're doing the marketing, you're just doing the making for them. There's plenty of people out there like that, right? And maybe you've perfected a process. And so that could be something that sets you apart and is a differentiator for your niche market. Okay, next is technology. These are systems or actual technology. Maybe you do have a way that you make web stores, and that's a good thing for you. Maybe you've perfected a system that helps you stand out. So what is your technological or systematic secret sauce that would identify your niche market? Next, services. Right? And what service do you provide that allows you to be better than anyone else? And not just saying, oh, I'm good at customer service. Okay, let me break the news to you. That's the minimum requirement to be in business, is to do customer service. Right? So what makes you stand out? What services make you stand out? Here's a service that could make you stand out. It could be your location, right? You go, oh, you know what, Amazon, I got your 2-day delivery. Hold my beer. I'm going to do it in an hour, right? That could be a service that you offer. Maybe it's relationships. You're part of a group, and so you service that because you understand their language. Maybe you're a great graphic designer, or you're great at storytelling. You're great at fulfillment. Right? What are the services that allow you to stand out? And then last but not least, what is the marketing? Right? A business is a brand unto itself. We already talked about brands. And so what is your brand? That could be part of your niche. People come to you because you put out a lot of great educational content. You're known in your community. The imagery, you've got a fun brand that people want to connect with, right? So just go deeper on this. Try to get, so I gave you a spot in the workbook to just start writing stuff in. Look for the pattern and see what could be a very specific potential niche market for you. And then last but not least here today, I want to share a quote from another gentleman that I really look up to. His name's Seth Godin. And he says this: selling to people who actually want to hear from you, and I highlighted want to hear from you, is more effective than interrupting strangers who don't. Okay. So think about that. Let that sink in for a second. Selling to people who actually want to hear from you is more effective than interrupting strangers who don't. That, to me, is the core of everything that we just talked about here in this 47 minutes of time that we've spent together. That's the core of it, right? How do we get so much clarity on our business and who our ideal customers are that now I'm talking to people who actually want to hear from you, because I know that is more effective than trying to interrupt strangers with as many Facebook posts as I can make, right? So when we get that marketing message, which is what we're going to talk about tomorrow, now it'll be more effective. All right. So that is what I have for you guys. I know there were some comments in here. Jerry says, I know I do not like production. LOL. All right. So I'm going to get all these comments, but like I said, I promised you guys we're going to try to get this done in about 45 minutes. Okay. I missed it by about 3 minutes. I'm going to stay around here to answer any questions you have. I do want to share, if you got to bounce, totally get it. We're going to talk about this a little bit more tomorrow. But you got everything you need here. So again, I am not here to pitch you. My goal is to leave you with everything you need to be able to do this on your own. But I want to give you a little quick preview on something I want to do on Saturday. And again, we'll talk about more details later. But yes, you're going to have all the tools. Yes, you're going to have the template. And once you get through that free session tomorrow, I think you're really going to have a lot of light bulb moments that you can just take and run with. And that's my goal. Heck, Some of you might just take the template right now and not show up tomorrow. I'm okay with that. If you feel like that's what you need, boom, perfect. But here's what I know about busy business owners, because I am one, right? Is you're busy. You're out there taking care of the customer. You're trying to find a new customer just by connecting with them, not doing marketing, right? You're handling existing customers. You're managing all the hats that you wore. I appreciate some of you guys sharing in the signups, what some of the challenges were. And I saw a lot of that, just managing everything. And the reality is that most people don't make the time to take the steps they need to have this full roadmap. I wouldn't, unless somebody said, okay, do this and walk me through it. Right. So on Saturday, starting at 8 a.m. Central Time, we're going to do a Zoom call with anybody that wants to join us for 3 hours, and it's going to save you time, and you're actually going to have the roadmap. I'm not saying you won't if you don't come to this. So again, don't think that this is a hard sell. It is really just an opportunity. So check that out. But with that being said, I'm just going to leave that there, and let's cover some of these other things. Again, what questions you have, what's not clear. I know I flew through a lot of stuff. So let's see here what I missed in the comments. There you go. Jerry, as we were talking about that ideal customer, I think is when this one showed up. So you do now. Who do I want to sit and chat with every day at my table, and where talk about my products? There you go. That's it. And if you can have clarity on who that person is specifically, then you're going to have a line of people waiting to sit and chat with you at your table. Boom. Love it, Jerry. Thank you. All right. Thank you, Karen. Julia, excuse me, says, exactly. This really hits the nail on the head. No problem, Maria. I just made a really bad joke, so you didn't miss anything. I just said, hey, okay. I was thinking about you. All right. Julie also says, right now for me, it's making Christmas shopping easier and more meaningful where they don't take the time to go. Oh, so huge. Right. I was actually talking with Becky, who's in here, about Christmas shopping, and I'm going, oh, man, I'm so bad at that. My Christmas shopping happens on December 24th, and it's like whatever's left in that big box store has kind of been my go-to in the past. But I need people like you that's going to make it easier for me and more meaningful, and I don't have to go mess with the mall mess. Even though we don't really go to the mall anymore, if you go to the mall during the holidays, it's still a disaster. So I love that. That's awesome, Julia. Thank you for sharing that. Karen says, people need to be heard, listened to. Communication has really changed 100%. Jerry says, I know I do not like production. Becky says, me too. Jerry, you're very welcome. Okay, great question, Karen. How do we find the ideal customer now? Our business has changed over 3 years. Getting surveys answered is tough. Karen, I know you personally, and so I'm going to just make a statement that might not make sense to everybody else. You know who your ideal customer is. You just have to be willing to trust your instinct on that. But here's what I suggest doing. Make a list of the top 10 customers you believe are your ideal customer. Just make a list and then reach out to them. Don't send them a survey. Don't try to get too complicated. Reach out to them and ask them, can we have a chat? You and I had this chat when you helped me. So exactly those types of questions, and I'm happy to help you with those questions, but exactly those types of questions. What is it that you need as a customer? What are you faced with? What are your big challenges right now? Right. So I love that, that you get an opportunity to do that. And yeah, it's changed over 30 years, but you also have the fact that you have 30 years of experience that you can bring to the table too. And so your customers might actually be really interested in that 30 years of experience, even though things have changed, right? You're keeping up with it, but you need to find out what that bridge is. What is it that they need from you that you can provide? And so, like I said, I'd make a list of your top 10 potential customers, and maybe it's 5 that you're already working with. Do this. 5 you're already working with, 2 that are former, if you can reach them, and 3 that are just potential that you'd love to work with. Make it very clear. It's not a sales call or anything like that. Just an opportunity to learn from them and go into that. So love it. Thank you, Karen, for that great question. Julia says, my biggest takeaway today was to focus on the top 20% of customers and don't worry about the bottom 20% because they will drop away. Absolutely. You just have to make sure that that top 20% is getting you to your goals. And so when you're focused on them, they're going to naturally grow and expand on their own. And like you said, they're going to fall away. Julia, boom, high five. Good job. Love it, love it, love it. And Julie says, Julia, I totally agree. Thanks, Aaron. Good to see you again. I'll learn from your seminar offered at DAX Show in Kansas City. This was great. I look forward to tomorrow. So glad to see you again. Thanks you for being here. And thank you guys for your time here today. Okay, I'm going to shut it down. If you, some of you, if you're not in the Facebook Messenger group, and if that's too much, you can just leave the group. It was just an opportunity for me to make sure that people were able to find out what they needed, because I'm kind of running this on my own, and so kind of working. In fact, Jerry kind of acted as my pseudo producer, so I appreciate you, Jerry. Thank you very much. And so I just wanted to make sure that you guys had a way to contact me if you need anything there. Let me know. We will be back tomorrow at the same time. There is a different link. I will put it in the Messenger group. You're going to get an email about it. If you have any questions, you guys know how to reach me. I totally love having these conversations with you. So I cannot wait until tomorrow. Thank you, everyone.
What if you had a clear marketing roadmap for the next...
Wrong button.